This is an extremely expensive adventure where you go to this company, they send you down in a submersible to explore and go through the Titanic. I think it's like $250,000 per person per seat or whatever. And they've lost contact with the submersible now. So it's been a scramble to try and like locate it, find them, and get them out. Now, one other thing that I think is important that we go into this with the knowledge of is this CEO sounds like a fucking maniac. Now, I do recognize that he is reportedly on this vessel as it's missing, so there is potential that he's dead. And it sounds like that's almost entirely his fault. I read this about him earlier. So there were already problems with this submarine, apparently. So in 2018, there was a lawsuit about it being a potential danger to passengers. So there were all kinds of red flags here. And the CEO at some point, I don't know if it's in this article, I haven't read this one. At some point, the CEO said that the safety requirements for the submarine were obscenely strict, complaining that the safety was overbearing. Like he was complaining that things were too safe. So it sounds like he was a corner cutter in order to save a little bottom dollar. Boss of missing Titanic submersible once called his industry obscenely safe. The daredevil inventor is understood to be on board the submersible that lost contact with the surface last week. That is the last person I would want manning my fucking Titanic deep sea adventure. The daredevil inventor. That's such a wild thing to complain about too. The industry being obscenely safe. I can't get over that. But it is a very dire and very serious situation. There is a good chance that they're either dead right now or will be shortly. They can't find them. Last I heard, there are only about 30 hours left on oxygen as of like a couple hours ago. Oh, here we go. Rush said that there have been no injuries in the field for decades, adding, it's obscenely safe because they all have these regulations, but it also hasn't innovated or grown because they all have these regulations. What the fuck do you mean? Before people complain about it being controlled by a Logitech controller, they almost definitely had backups, and controllers are used for a lot of scientific and military systems such as drones, submarine periscopes because of their ergonomic and intuitive design. The design sucked for many reasons, such as the under-engineered window and lack of escape hatch. That's another thing of prerequisite knowledge here. I saw this all over Twitter, so I had to look this up at least a little bit because so many people were arguing. It was controlled by I think it was a $20 Logitech gamepad, which is apparently industry norm in military equipment and other high-value vessels. That's not uncommon. So that's not a... It's a little goofy to read about, but it's apparently industry standard. Yep, this is from 2 months ago. The US military will fight the next big war with an Xbox-style video game controller, and it's just literally using Xbox controllers. They legitimately use these for very high-tech shit. Why not a PS4 controller? I don't know, brother. You're asking the wrong guy. I also wonder if third-party controllers can give you like a boost if you have like the extra little toggles on the back that used to be illegal in professional Call of Duty. Like little paddle shifters or something. The Xbox controllers have better aim assist. Yeah, I suppose so. While it is bigger than competitors, passengers are required to sit on the floor with limited room to move around. Yeah, that's the scariest part of submarines in general. I think there's almost nowhere more miserable to be in the entire universe than in a fucking submarine. You can't go anywhere. It's very cramped. Much of the interior, the company admits, consists of several pieces of off-the-shelf technology, which it says help to streamline the construction and makes it simple to operate and replace parts in the field. I don't know if... To me, that doesn't sound like extremely nice. Like, that wouldn't build confidence for me. I'd like to hear that these parts came directly from, like, the finest forges in Mordor or something. Like, something really strong sounding as opposed to off the shelf. Mr. Rush, speaking to CBS News last year, said piloting the sub shouldn't take a lot of skill. Why? I feel like it absolutely should. There's people's lives at stake there. Like 10,000 leagues under the sea. You should have a very skilled pilot behind the controller of that puppy. Give me a goddamn esports pro or something. Don't just give me anybody. Oh man, God, this is fucking terrifying. OceanGate says it's an experimental vessel and told CBS Travel on board correspondent he had to sign a waiver to accept it has not been approved or certified by any regulatory body and could result in physical injury, disability, emotional trauma, or death. I understand waivers are pretty standard, But the regulatory body thing is actually surprising to me that anyone can build, well, any company rather, can build a sub and just take people under the sea without any level of like safety inspection. That's a little surprising. Oh, yikes. Okay. The company explained why the Titan had not been classed by an independent body. Bringing an outside entity up to speed on every innovation before it is put into real-world testing is an anathema to rapid innovation. This guy fucking hates inspectors and safety. Why? Oh my god. Yeah, we don't get it inspected or approved by any kind of, knowledgeable people. I said it's good enough, so that's probably enough. Crew searching for the Titan submersible heard banging sounds every 30 minutes, and for 4 hours later, after additional sonar devices were deployed, banging was still heard according to an internal U.S. government memo. It was unclear what the bang. I mean, it sounds like they're alive. Like, I don't think that banging is Davy Jones or anything. Like, I mean, it sounds like they're probably still alive. Yeah, but if they're freaking out, they're going to be using a lot more oxygen. These are, from what I understand, these are like just rich people, not fucking hardened super soldiers. Of course they're going to be freaking out in the face of death on a submarine at the bottom of the fucking ocean. So I think they're already working under the assumption that they're consuming more oxygen than normal. No, it's just too deep for that. Yeah, like I said, I'm not like a fucking nautical engineer, but I feel like, aren't most of these things like tethered to the ships? Like I know when you do, what's that deep sea tour? Another rich people thing? I can't remember the name of it. But they have like a giant rope that tethers it to that ship. But I guess maybe it doesn't go as deep. It's just not possible at 13,000 feet. Okay, fair enough. How OceanGate built improvised submersible from camping kit and video game controller. Again, the video game controller is kind of industry standard, but what do they mean built from a camping kit?
The minivan.
So this is not your grandfather's submersible. We only have one button, that's it. It should be like an elevator. You know, it shouldn't take a lot of skill.
The Titan
what the fuck? Those pictures don't do it justice. Oh my god, this looks miserable. Holy shit. And just a single button on board like an elevator. That does not inspire confidence. I want this shit to look like the Starship Enterprise, with 1,000 different ways of controlling it. $250,000 in your crisscross applesauce in like a car trunk. Yeah, there's like a small, like bathroom area. I read it in the article. So there is like a small place to relieve yourself, but he recommends that you change your diet to reduce the chance of that of you needing to use it. Look at that. What? What? How? I can't believe anyone would go on this. $250,000, I show up and I see this, I'm just leaving. And I'm asking for my money back ASAP. Holy shit. Actual just tape and Sharpie here.
These off-the-shelf components.
I got these from Camper World. We run
my
the
God.
whole thing with this game controller.
Come on!
Oh, he's even got nipples on it. What does this even really help with? Why would you even bother putting the nipples on it?
As we'll show you a little later on Sunday morning.
Where things have to be.
I feel like that window at that depth is just an absolute recipe for disaster.
Archaeologist Rob Mather
Again, I'm not an expert. Let me see it here at the bottom.
Look at that, though, how it just kind of emerges out.
That thing is like fucking pathetic to look at. I'll just say it. Like, oh my god. Actually, tape and Sharpie, Camping World supplies. Oh my god. The porthole window is rated for 1,300 meters, and they dove to 4,000 meters. Well, you know. Simple miscalculation. Okay. Sunday night, it lost contact with a support ship. About an hour and 45 after submerging. Jesus, so like almost instantly. Because it's like an 8-hour journey. So that happening at an hour 45 is pretty much right off rip. It went tits up immediately. Jim Bellingham, a Johns Hopkins University expert on deep sea operations, told USA Today there's 3 possible locations for the submersible. One possibility is that it could be floating on the ocean's surface after an electrical failure or some other mishap. Another is that it's drifting in the water column anywhere between the surface and the bottom because it became buoyantly neutral, or it could be on the sea floor, perhaps tangled with something that won't let it float to the top. The first one is by far the best position, Bellingham said, because even though it would be difficult to spot the 21-foot-long Titan amidst the waves, the Coast Guard is just awesome at this. They have amazing capability to see something pretty small in the ocean. Yeah, I think he's probably right on the money. The best case scenario is that they are floating somewhere out in the surface. Anything else is a little rough. God, that's so fucking terrifying, because if it is actually on the seabed, like, how are they supposed to save it? Like, how are you supposed to rescue them? Like, let's say, so the update from CNN 9 minutes ago was that they heard banging, which I think sounds like good news. It leads me to believe that they might still be alive. So they were hearing, like, banging on the equipment. How are you supposed to save them if they're on the seafloor? 13, like, are you supposed to send another Titan vessel down there? Like, you're gonna, like, put one together with more Camping World equipment? Like, how are you supposed to save them? So even if you do locate them, you can do nothing to really help. A magnet like Breaking Bad. Oh my god, sign this man up to NASA. What if you get a huge magnet and you just start putting it over the ocean and see if it starts bringing him to the top? This man's thinking with galaxy brain. Project Azorian was a U.S. Central Intelligence Agency project to recover a Soviet submarine, a K-129, from the Pacific Ocean floor using a purpose-built Hughes Glomar Explorer. This just sounds fucking awesome. What? The ship recovered a portion of the K-129, but a mechanical failure in the grapple caused 2/3 of the recovered section to break off during recovery. So it basically worked up until it didn't. Very interesting. So this was fundamentally like a giant crane that would be precisely lowered and lifting it up. So realistically, if we still had the Hughes Glomar Explorer here with this equipment, they could just call that bitch up right now and actually stand a chance if they could locate them. James Cameron about to come out of retirement to rescue him. I mean, legitimately, do they have that? James Cameron has what, the second deepest manned mission in the sea, I think? Yep. Pretty scary situation. Here's hoping they somehow get saved. That would be a fucking miracle.